My role at ev3 is technical communication specialist, which means that I'm in charge of all of the IFUs that we do, the instructions for use, as well as the template, which is the static content of the label. So whenever we're doing a new project or new product, or we're updating the IFUs or we're updating the labels, that they get me involved. And so I make sure that to speak to foreign exchange, that I coordinate with foreign exchange, the translation company, to send out our English only draft data to the translation company, and then get it back and make sure that we get the 15 language IFU back in as timely of a manner as possible. So yeah, basically my entire job revolves around IFUs, labels, and as such then the translations related to those. My typical day is I come to work, and if there is a pre-existing project going on, let's say we're doing a update to one of our atherectomy devices, if it hasn't gone out for translation, I'll probably meet with the project team at some point, at least during the course of the week, to see where we are with regard to the technical content as well as the labeling content. And if it's already gone off to translation, I'll probably wind up pulsing the translation company, foreign exchange, as to exactly where we are in the project, depending if it's getting close to when my expected delivery is, then obviously there'll be a bit more contact. If I've gotten the translated IFU back, or if it's an update that I can handle, then it's opening it up in InDesign, tweaking maybe a few things here and there, because oftentimes between the time it'll go out for translation and the time it'll come back, some intellectual property or patent information will change. So I have to make sure that that's correct. Any other little minor things, like if suddenly they decided that they needed rated burst pressure translated on the IFU, then excuse me, that's a quick turnaround of some sort, and get that fit into the symbols somehow. If it's something I can handle, I do it. If not, send it off to you guys to do a quick turnaround. And then there's just the sundry, usually labeling related things that happen over the course of a week. If a label isn't printing correctly, that can come down to the template file itself, may have to be altered, or it could be simply ensuring that the label printer itself is correctly set up. But sort of all of those things, basically all related to IFUs, labeling on the ev3 products. The biggest challenges are usually, it actually for me happens before sending it off to translation, which probably sounds ironic. I think that's actual irony and backwards, but there's usually an end date. That would be what we call PPQ, pre-production qualification. That's when you have to have everything ready to do a pre-production build, okay, to make sure that all your processes and everything that you want to do work out okay. So that's usually a hard date. And for that, they need the final label content, so they can print out a label, and they need the final IFU, so they can put the IFU in the box. Now, that doesn't move, but the technical cutoff date, as with most concurrent engineering projects, always seems to slip to the right, and slip to the right, and slip to the right. Now, it takes between 10 and 15 business days to get an IFU back from translation. That's what I found it to be. So there's a window, and we have to make, that window's not going to move, the end date isn't going to move, but the technical content keeps sliding and sliding and sliding, and it's basically, the challenge is to get everything. The design has to be done so we can write the IFU, because it's usually some tiny little thing like which way we're folding the balloon or which way we're wrapping something. We're going clockwise or counterclockwise. It's some tiny little detail like that that we have to make sure that we get nailed down. And making sure that we get that so that I can get the information off to foreign exchange in time to do the translation, to get it back, for me to then get it through our internal ECO process so the document can be released to be printed. All of those things are usually hard dates, right? It takes so long to get it translated, it takes so long to get it through the ECO, it takes so long to send it to the printer, get the proof, sign off on that. Okay, so those dates aren't going to move. You can squish them a little bit, but for the most part they're solid. And then it has to make that final end date. So that was very long but involved. But that's what my biggest challenge is to get the technical content ready to send off to you so that the whole rest of the project can play out in the time that it's allotted, basically. Accuracy above all else. It pains me to no end when somebody who can read Chinese, or we used to have a man here who was from Poland, and I think he actually caused the predecessor company to Foreign Exchange to lose their gig because he was reading the Polish and said this isn't right. Accuracy. There. Also, you guys are very heavily involved in the overall layout, so a good layout and the back and forth required on that, something functional. If things don't fit, I kind of lean on Foreign Exchange pretty hard for their expertise, for your expertise in that area, because in the case of the last TurboHawk IFU, especially in the Romance languages, it was just too long to fit on our biggest sheet of paper, which untrimmed is 28 by 40. Well, the challenges would be if we have to do more languages, because we've settled into this mapfold format that if we purchase in quantity saves us money. But again, there's a spatial limitation to the paper size. So when you look at if they want to add Latvian or any of these other languages, if they start getting into that could be something. Also, what I would enjoy, because it would allow me to go back to what I had done before I started working at ev3, is the EIFUs. If we can actually start doing that and shipping a CD, that would allow for certainly any number of languages, and the ability then to come up with more interesting layouts and things like that. That would be sort of I guess the future. Really the EIFU, additional languages which can cause trouble, and just the standard faster, cheaper type thing that every company is faced with and every project manager is faced with.